everybody, it's Thursday, and we are still in International Women's Month, so we are going to be talking about women in Voyager, and as you can imagine, there's a lot to talk about, and yeah, let's get to it. Beautiful bean footage?
3, 2, 1, and act!
Every other vote.
I mean, I just want to know what we're going to be ready. Oh, wait, we're going live.
Here we are. Welcome once again to Trekkers the Light.
Like, literally, my mic falls down just as we go live. Hi, everybody!
Why is that person not even moving behind you?
That's what you're paying attention to?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh my god, no.
Love that baseball and the teacup. Like, clearly, TNG DS9 fans.
This was a nice touch.
The most.
No, everybody, this is actually one of the main screenwriters for Prodigy, so we are super excited to hear from you. And
No one
also,
listen.
I'm a little embarrassed for being as critical.
Man, I really love that intro.
I also really love that intro
Yo,
features...
what's up?
Anyway, what I was saying is, I really love that intro features Aaron Walke, and we managed to successfully frighten that man so badly, he's never going to come back.
Right.
This thing isn't working for some reason, so I don't know what's going on. So off it goes. Off you go.
Off with your head.
Right. All right then. Right.
Hey, that's literally all I can think of is off it goes. I'm like, all right, it's that kind of party tonight. So I guess it's fitting that we are talking about Janeway.
Yeah, let me get my bourbon.
Right, and a character who is well known for
Off
terrible
your head.
hair and Tuvix.
Is it terrible hair?
The bird's nest is pretty terrible.
It's just certainly like there's preferred hair. There's hair, and then there's preferred hair.
I mean, Janeway is definitely one of those, like the Worf and the Riker phenomenon, and the Cisco phenomenon, right? Where you get the final form of hair, that's when she gets good. That
is like it. Like the better her hair is, the better the show is. Actually,
absolutely, and I think it's significant actually that it's much like for Deanna Troi. It's not until Kate Mulgrew gets some control over her hairstyling that she really sort of settles into Janeway as a character. Because y'all, I mean,
yeah, but Deanna Troi was sexualized, but Janeway was
too.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have sexualization into a character.
Do you?
Right?
Do you?
Like, yeah.
Do you though?
I think you did it with Picard. I think you did it with Riker. I think
I saw her in a nightgown a number of times.
Right,
like
but I mean, do we like
four times you saw it in a nightgown? No, nightgown.
A nude ones.
And then she was put up against 7.
right, which is not a phenomenon that really ever happens to male characters in Trek,
Not even gay ones.
or really?
No, that is not true. First of all, do we not remember Riker in the fucking?
You mean Angel One? Yeah, no, I 100% know. Remember that outfit, and let me tell you why that outfit is not feminist and not equality. Because what that was is that was literally putting Riker in a situation in which he was supposed to be in a feminist planet, and the problem with that is it was portrayed as doing exactly what men would do to women.
First of all,
that's one of the reasons that Angel One is so terrible.
That was 1992, so let's
and so much has changed.
Yes,
Literally 4 years earlier.
My only point is that regardless of the ideals of it, the visuals of it was like, let's put Riker in this visual thing.
Right. And the joke there was that we are feminizing Riker. We're turning him into a woman. That was why it was funny.
No, I think
Kind of was though.
yeah.
Literally, if you look at the script and you look
If
how
you
it's
look at
played off.
well, because all the men were flipped
Yeah,
to be
that was the point.
subsexual, right?
That was the point. Yeah,
My
that was the
point is
point.
that they didn't. I don't feel like they sexualized Janeway. That's my point. I don't feel like they really did. I mean,
I would love to.
And again, I would love to know why like sexualizing a character is necessary for that to be an interesting and good
I don't
character.
think sexualizing is necessary, but I think it's okay. I think it's perfectly fine to sexualize someone. Sex is a part of life. We all walk out into this world and we look at people and we sexualize them.
Do we though?
Happens. I do.
I really feel like you're telling us more about you than we needed to know. In all honesty,
I wake up. I wake up and
Y'all, I'm just the gay one here. I'm just trying to.
But I'm saying, but why is sexualization bad? Because it is a cornerstone of humanity. Because without it, we wouldn't have people.
I think
so. I guess my question to you would be: is when you have 50% or 51% of the population that is being sexualized more so than the other 49%, it's a very good question is to ask yourself why. Like, what about it? And the other issue there is there's a question of agency.
No, so I have no problem with sexualizing people, but I have a problem with treating people like on a daily basis, treating people a certain way in certain environment, right? So there's a problem with that. Like, so you can't just walk down the street treating a woman as a sexual object, because that's not what you.
Isn't that what you just described though?
No,
no. Because you're literally talking about sexualizing these characters in stories, and you're talking about how they are being portrayed to an audience, and so and so what you're saying is we shouldn't treat them differently, and yet the scripts and the stories that we tell about women do.
No, I'm saying that.
I mean, sort of necessarily you are.
Necessarily.
Yeah, because that's literally the premise that you're coming from here, is that, it's okay to sexualize, but we're not allowed to treat them differently. Except that, it's okay to sexualize them in this story that we're telling, but it's not okay to sexualize them in real life.
First of all, you said women, and I'm not saying women. I feel like it's okay to sexualize, to have this idea of sex of people. So I think it's okay to sexualize, like you watch Baywatch, right, or whatever. I think that's okay.
No.
To have a show.
You tried bringing that up last week, and the point didn't stick then either.
So how's your day going, Keith?
Just as we were starting, I tried to adjust the light, and I spilled my drink all over my desk. So I got my whole desk.
Is your computer okay?
Hawaiian punch. The computer's fine.
I really appreciate that it's Hawaiian punch too, right? Because of course that stains.
Okay.
I just feel like we don't need to act like sex doesn't exist, because it does exist.
I would love to explore this subtopic in FTP, but for the time, but true. But I would love to explore this topic in an FTP episode and have a full out conversation about it. I'm actually interested, but I think for the sake of tonight and for how I was trying to get the link here, I would probably for the time move along with the women in Voyager and just like see what each character's development was like.
To be fair though, I mean, Jason's point is an interesting one with when we take a look at that. And I'm not going back to it, but what I am saying is that it's a really good segue, because one of the problems with Voyager is is the use of sex and the use of sex appeal, because we have very early on characters that are sexualized and female characters that are not. The men don't tend to be
right
in Voyager, despite the fact that apparently Robert Beltran had trouble keeping his trousers on set.
So what we're saying is it did happen to both sexes, but more so to women than it did men.
Actually, I mean, I'm trying to come up with a time when like one of the male characters was sexualized.
I kind of thought that Tom Paris was a couple of times.
He was what?
Fill that out for me. Fill that out.
Well, I mean, to me, he was kind of the Kirk on the ship. Like, but but he
Womanizer,
loved,
yeah.
but he was definitely a womanizer, and there were I can recall a number of when he was approached and he turned them down. But the one that kind of stood out to me the most, they weren't exactly in a relationship. In fact, they weren't anything at the time. Well, remember when Balana was going through the Ponfar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Blood.
Yeah,
fever.
right.
Mhm.
And he respected her, and they weren't dating at the time, but he respected her so much, even acknowledging that he had a whole crush on her, but wouldn't sleep with her in that state.
We've all been there.
So
Well,
does he get a cookie for being a decent
no, no,
human
no, no,
being?
no.
It
I'm
should be-
saying
why should you not get a cookie for being a decent human being?
no. It's not so much that. It's
Because
just
that's
that
sort of
what
the baseline.
I think.
That's not the baseline. The
I'm kind of like the neutral party here.
baseline is that most men are not heroes in that situation. That the baseline is that if you want to talk about the baseline is that, like, no, a lot of men would have taken that opportunity, and he is a step above that. So I know that's where you want the baseline to be. That men are better than that, but most men are not better than that.
Hi, Marco. How are you?
Oh my god!
What's up, Marco?
Yo, Marco.
What are you doing?
Always in the comments, never on the screen.
Everybody, this is Marco from Entertainment Rants, longtime friend, and I have missed you, buddy.
Oh my
you
god,
guys
it's been
too.
so
We missed everybody. It's
long.
been a long time.
It has been way too long.
Marco, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody knows
Yeah.
what happened, and that's okay. It's very public. But yeah, I'm doing okay. It's still raw. Obviously, it was Tuesday, so it's only a couple of days ago. But yeah, we're getting through. Services are Monday, Tuesday, so
Right.
Gotcha.
Well, we will for sure be thinking about you, buddy.
So we're talking about why Paris needs a cookie.
No. Okay, let me make my point clear.
No. I'm sorry.
That's
Did you
what I
not
said.
miss the shiny change of subject? Because Marco was the shiny change of subject. We are really away from that.
I'm gonna say, please don't put those words in my mouth. No. I'm just saying, I feel like
really. Well, you don't want to put something in your mouth.
Look here. I mean, if his name is
Hey,
Harry,
I just showed up, but hey.
I'm just saying. Harry's kind of cute, but we're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that alone.
I mean, he was nominated as one of like the sexiest people. Speaking of sexualization of people, but and that's why they couldn't fire him.
Well, he was the only Asian American actor in a lead position on any network TV show.
And let's also pretend like that mattered in the 90s.
Yeah.
Let's pretend.
So William, as a gay man, do you find Tom Paris and Harry Kim? Do you find that they drove any type of sexualization towards?
Really getting into the women of Voyager here.
I'm gonna answer this and then pass the mic to Marie. I'm just and we're not segueing anymore. So how I feel like definitely more so women. There have been some sexualizations on both sides of the aisle. I will more than be glad to write an essay about it and submit it to FTP. But I will still say at the end of the day, it happened.
I will be grading your work.
I believe it. Yes, absolutely. To the point where
women. I'll say that it's always more.
And and I can So I feel like Harry there were some jokes here and there. Like I remember that one alien said, by the way, if you don't want me, I've had my eye on Harry for a while. I think was that Seska that said that. But anyway, something like that. But that's neither here nor there. So I think they're both attractive. But
there's a whole episode in the way Harry was presented in the show, but that's not important right now.
That's not important right now. So
I'm just saying, if you look at the start of the show, look at the first.
Surely, Keith. Surely.
Look at the first 4 episodes. First 4 episodes of Voyager. I didn't see any actual sexualization of either of the teams, men or women. When you
that was the first episode of Enterprise.
No, I'm saying.
I love that you just went for the decontamination gel. I love it. Let us rub that lovingly over our bodies. And everybody
rub it
was.
in.
I
Rub it in.
didn't see that on Voyager. I just didn't see that on Voyager.
I mean, literally 7 of 9's entire outfit.
No,
that was season 4 though. So
I said
yeah, but I mean, but still, right? Like, I mean,
definitely 7 of 9. But I'm saying before that, if you look at the first couple episodes of Voyager, or the first season, there was
Does this mean do we need to talk about Kess now? We need to talk
about
about like that giant like red flag.
What is the giant red flag of Kess? Because I don't agree with
Are you kidding me?
I don't at all.
Marco, how do you feel about Kess? I'm gonna let Marco take this away because this is Marco's favorite.
It is my favorite Trek series. Kess was. I was happy to see her go and sad to see her go when she did end up leaving the show. It was a very odd character to begin with, where she was so young but yet dating Neelix, and that kind of relationship was like, you're dating who? And comparatively speaking, how old? Like, even though her race only lives 7 years, she's only, I forget at the time, was it 4 to 6, 1 year, something like that. Like she's barely a teenager, even there. Perspective, and she's dating.
She's never left. She's not even adult as far as she's not even adult.
And it was
awesome
to see how they just kind of eventually ignored it. Like eventually, just kind of went away. There wasn't. I mean, it had a little bit of
except for that one episode that was really creepy when like
they brought it back
Neelix
again.
Neelix was super jealous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even Ethan Phillips is trying so hard to come up with a way to make this not creepy and failing.
And it was just impossible. It was impossible.
No, it just was not.
It felt so flat. At first, they just ignored the fact that she was with him anymore.
If you watch the first episodes, Kess came out dominant as a dominant character. If you watch the very first line she has in the show was saying that
wasn't she hostage from the first episode?
Watch the first episode. Kess is a very dominant character. She's not a teenage. She's not a
You mean
child.
when she sort of crawled out from behind the wall with the black eye, having been savagely beaten by the Kazon?
That has nothing to do with being a child. You can be savagely beaten as a 70-year-old. Like that's nothing to do with with how old you are or how mature.
I feel like when this is like the argument we're making. we have already crossed into like sketch territory.
She dominates at the beginning. She dominates Neelix. She dominates the captain. She tells the captain, "You got to pay attention to Neelix. You got to pay attention to the doctor. You got to pay attention to what's going on." And every single time, the captain listens to her and says, "Yes, okay, you're right." Like at the beginning of the show, there's no way that Kess is a lesser or immature character. She's completely dominant.
Sounds kind of like
was she dominant, or was she so innocent and that they paid attention to her and didn't want to shut her down?
I would say watch the first, because I've watched Voyager for the past 3 weeks. Watch like the first few episodes and what Kess, like the first 5 episodes of Kess of Voyager.
Yeah, like
everything she says is dominant, and she's not asking, she's telling people.
In the same way that my 5-year-old will turn around and tell me, "Mom, I'm not going to bed right now."
Oh, I don't know.
We're not talking about Fury right now, are we? Like that episode, I would say.
No, we're not talking about Fury. We're not there.
No, I don't want to talk about Fury.
No,
I'm just saying I don't see the thing that you guys are saying about Kess as like a red flag. What is a red flag about Kess?
They should have explained. They should have said something like, one of Kess's years is 10 Earth years, or something like that. They should have laid that out versus just saying she's 3 years old.
We don't understand their lifespan, so that's just off the table. I'm not going to get into.
There's also a necessary power imbalance here between the two of them. Kess doesn't have the experience. She doesn't have the age. She's never been off Ocampa. And he's literally taking her. Where she wants to go, but if we're not very careful, that whole narrative veers very quickly into Lifetime original movie territory.
I think you're inviting.
It's not just me, dude. It's not just me. There's a lot of decent scholarship on this.
But Oh, okay.
I never got a great vibe when that whole thing went down. And maybe that is, maybe Jason's right. Maybe that's just my own sort of, Earth perspective on, that sort of thing. But like, and this is not, it's characters who are not supposed to be. And we don't know Neelix's necessarily their lifespan either and their age and how they age particularly. But how do you, since they never did lay it out, you know what I mean? You just have to almost assume. It's like they're letting us assume and they really shouldn't. Because I think Marie's right. I think the majority of people, not everybody, but the majority of people saw it that way. And they just
that's one of the reasons. And that's one of the reasons.
Sort of diluted it and said, okay, well, this is that happened. We're going to ignore it.
That's exactly why. That's exactly right. It's because somebody eventually watched the episodes and was like, hey, okay, maybe let's back that off.
Yeah. So again, kind of neutral in between. I see the weirdness and I see like the alien ideology of what the writers were trying to do. So kind of how I looked at Kessa's age was kind of how I think about dog years.
No,
like because it's like dog years. It's like no, seriously. You're
right. They average about 7, right?
Right,
about whatever 7 to 9. So in essence, right, a dog averages what, like 12, 14 to 16.
So no matter what you do,
none of this is a good look, right? Like when you were having to do that level of mental gymnastics in order to make this not creepy.
Well, she was only, quote unquote.
That's a problem.
No matter
if it had made her a little older, I would buy it.
No matter what you do, you cannot even. It's not applicable for you to think about the age. It doesn't even make sense for you to think about it. Like the fact that you're thinking about.
I mean, Jason's on a one-man crusade.
I have a question for Jason because I think he's onto something. But I have a question for you because you just watched this more recently than I did. Do you remember in the first ones, her dad appeared like in the first episode, and if my memory serves, he basically treated her and called her a child. Was that more because it's his daughter and he doesn't want to see her leave the nest, or was he like being serious? Like, you're not ready for this. You're only 3. You're a child in our eyes, in our
First
our
of all,
lifespan.
My niece is pushing 30, and I still call her a child. Right?
Yeah, sure. It's maturity versus age. Chronologically, you'd be one thing. Maturity-wise, you're another.
She's a child.
That's true.
She's a child to me. That's my perspective. She will always be a child to me. Right? So that's a perspective. What I'm saying is, first of all, the fact that making them only live 9 years was just dumb writing, because now we fall into all this shit that we're happening right now.
Right, and I don't.
I don't disagree because it does write you in a corner.
It writes you in the corner.
Keith. You said something I didn't catch. I'm sorry.
There's still an age gap. I mean, she's still pretty young compared to.
But it doesn't make sense. Oh my God. You guys stop thinking about the age gap. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense. It's not relevant because you can't relate to it. You have no idea what Alcampa is, what a 6-month-old Alcampa does.
You're right, though.
You're
right. I think you're right. And I would challenge that with even Neelix treated her like a child.
Yes.
There were times 100%. Where he very much made it emphatic that 100%. He saw her a lot younger. Like, listen, you're really not mature.
You don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing because you're so young, and I need to guide you. And to me, that's more of a mentor, Obi-Wan figure. And do we want Obi-Wan hitting on, young Ahsoka? You know what I mean?
There's another word to be used here, Marco.
Creepy old guy.
I talked about Neelix not understanding and Neelix mansplaining and Neelix not understanding her because, like I said, if you watch the first season, she's dominant most of the time when it comes to her and Neelix. And then it's later on when he tries
the other argument I want to make to that, because that's the same argument you've been making. It's fair. The other argument I want to make though is like we talk about not centering, not trying to tell this, foist our own morals onto these non-human characters, except for the fact that Ocampans don't exist. This is a piece of art that is meant for consumption. So we can't just say, well, that's fine if it's creepy because they're aliens, because no, actually, it's not fine, because the point of all of this is to tell us a story about ourselves. And it's to tell us a story that tells us something about our condition, right? That's what science fiction is meant to do. So it's like when somebody starts talking to me about Game of Thrones and they're all like, well, that's just how they did it back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It wasn't. That's not actually how that worked for a lot of reasons. 2, so what if it's how they did it back then? Because we are right. You are writing something for consumption right now.
Yeah.
And you're writing something about that is supposed to speak to us right now.
Yo, that's shocking.
And
they want that. They want you to feel that. That's why you watch the show.
I mean, I didn't actually. I got mad enough that I.
But the thing
did
is,
not
it's like you
finish
can
it,
go to
but-
Mexico right now, and they will tell you can have sex with a girl at 16. It's all relative.
That's the
Right.
South. Oh, I'm sorry, different relative. Never mind.
Well,
don't make me not love you, Marco.
not relative.
don't make me not love you, Marco.
I'm sorry.
I went to Mexico. I went to Mexico, and they're like,
And again, like the fact that this is where we're splitting hairs sort of indicates to me that we are so solidly into sketchy territory. Like that's a problem, and I don't think we can safely ignore. Like I said, the power imbalance. I don't think we can safely ignore the implications of what's going on with Kes and Neelix, and then later Kes and Paris. All of that. I mean, there are real issues that need to be talked about there, and Voyager tries to, as Marco pointed out, Voyager tries to sidestep those by basically sort of chucking that whole thing, and eventually they break up, right? Like, I mean, if I remember correctly, largely because, frankly, they needed that not to be a thing. As I mean, both for story purposes and also because, well, creepy. William?
What's up, Will?
So, all right. So, a valid point, real quick, to Marco. I didn't really think about how Neelix was treating Kes was kind of like the word that I used earlier. But I think what finally caught my attention, and obviously I was in college when I watched this. I was kind of wondering, like, well, I was trying to do the math in my head because at this point the Accompant age didn't really dawn on me until the year. Until the Year of Hell futuristic episode where Kes was back traveling in time, which I thought was a great episode, by the way.
Before and after.
But
such a great,
right before and after. Right. So I was like, okay, I can get behind Tom with Kes because he's always had a crush on her, blah, 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 blah. But then I saw Harry with Tom and Kes's daughter, and they had a son.
Yeah.
And so my 18-year-old mind was trying to like comprehend, like,
Twilight. Oh, I'm sorry.
How could he possibly have had enough time for her to grow up? Did she get caught in a temporal anomaly or something? Did I miss something like that one, like the child in Deep Space Nine, O'Brien's daughter? You remember that?
Molly?
Like,
Molly,
yeah. Girl turned out 25, went back, became 4 again. But and so I'm looking at this, and then I had to go back and watch Voyager again, and then I realized the Accompant age, and I was just like, what are y'all trying to say? Like, I understand because we've had almost there. I understand that we've had different that we've had different planets that move at different speeds. Great episode for that one where the planet was moving super fast and they could keep track of the civilization. All of that. That was great.
They were caught in the wake of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that. But it's very important to get
the sky ship episode.
The sky ship. Beautiful. But it's very important. I'm not saying give me the full blueprint, but it's very important to establish a foundation. So that way it won't creep out even the actors who are on set.
And I think that's part of the problem, right? Because that's part of the problem with 90s Trek. And some of that is unfortunately Berman's influence. Because I don't think we can talk about 90s Trek with the exclusion of Deep Space Nine without having 90s and early 2000s, really, without acknowledging that there is a really gnarly strand of misogyny that exists.
Oh, I'll agree with that. Yeah.
And I think unfortunately Janeway sort of gets certainly Kes does here, the fact that we're having this conversation, the fact that we have to go down and start splitting hairs again indicates to me that we're in super sketch territory.
Well,
but Janeway also, we're gonna pivot now because we're 30 minutes in. But Janeway also gets a little bit of this kind of shaft. So let's talk about Janeway, guys. What are our favorite Janeway moments? What are our least favorite Janeway moments? And what do we think that says?
So when we say favorite moments, are we gonna be like honest favorite moments? Like we really, really love this moment for her? Like
I think that like Janeway.
I'm interested that you asked that question.
Because I'm trying to we split hairs so much I can't tell what's serious and what's sarcasm.
No, I know, I do. I want to hear what you love about Janeway. So Jason started.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think Janeway, I'll say Kate Mulgrew owned that character, and I think she did a wonderful job as Janeway. I think one of the great moments was when the Maquis people or some people were trying to get some technology to transport them to the Alpha Quadrant, and then Tuvok was like, "No, you guys can't do it. I'm going to do it. I don't want to get."
Oh yes, the thief episode with
then
the special like transporter.
Bring your logic to me.
She found out that he did it, and he did it for her because he knew it should be done, but he knew that she wouldn't do it. And there was a point where she felt like she was kind of destroyed because he did that for her, and it really hurt her. I think that was like a really good point for Janeway of just feeling like oh my God, Tuvok, you did this for me, but I hate that you did it.
I just like the bring your logic to me part. Like she really kind of stood. That's my thing. She stood up to a Vulcan without being a dick about it. Like, and I'm here, and I was here for that energy.
And somewhere Bones is feeling a little embarrassed. Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Me personally, I kind of want to create like as like a filmmaker's perspective. I want to create like a prologue backstory to the Fear episode that led up to the events of Fear, because that moment she ate. I understand that it was her hologram, but the way she ate that last scene before it went dark, she ate that shit. She cooked.
She said, "I know." When he said, "I'm afraid," and he said, "I know."
Yes, she will make fear itself. Like, and I'm here for that. I'm like, you know what? I respect that. If you make fear itself, you're a badass.
Yeah, that's kind of a devious statement. That like a line that she made when she said, "I know." It was like so fucking devious. Like
she made Lenny cry.
Also, from an actress perspective, I really got confirmation on this. She really did base some of her characters' mannerisms and persona off of oh god, she's one of my favorite actresses. Lord help.
Hepburn.
Yes, Katharine Hepburn. Yeah. Down almost damn near down to the hair, but of course they fooled around with her hair like for 7 seasons. But
definitely heard it in the voice.
It was up, it was down, it was short, it was long.
And then there was that
hell of a barber on that ship.
Yeah,
Mulgrew was so much better than Boudreaux. Like, wow.
Yes,
like,
when they originally
had Boudreaux. Like, can you imagine if Voyager would have had her for 7 seasons?
No, I don't think it would have lasted 7 seasons, to be honest with you.
No,
she would have been of the show. I think Mulgrew had so many different depths into her and so many more facets to that character that we were allowed to explore. Right? We had badass Janeway, like in Macrocosm, when she's got like the tank on, she's just got strapped to the hilt with weaponry and like,
the BFG.
Go in there and throw the bomb in there, things like that. Then you had the diplomatic Janeway. You know what I mean? Who could just handle different species and take care of their, the negotiations. And then you had the vulnerable Janeway, right? When she was in Fairhaven and she falls in love with the hologram. And
everyone knows the line. Say it, Marco. Say it.
That is.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I'm gonna take it away from you.
Delete the wife.
But in all fairness, I love that. I love that sequence.
Yeah.
And what I love
to have some too. She should be able to get some too, right? Like,
she's strong and vulnerable at the same time.
But that's it,
right?
That's
what I want, but she,
And everybody kind of rags on the delete the wife line, and effectively they're sort of missing the point of that show, of that episode, which is that Janeway is allowed to have those needs. She's allowed to have that ownership over what she does and doesn't want. And that is, I think, a really interesting and nuanced portrayal of romance and the realities of romance in this extremely awkward command situation in which she finds herself. Because she is, I mean, she is like, and the doctor points this out, right? Like that she's completely isolated in the sense that she has to be in charge of everybody all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like she's going to have the opportunity to date, like say, an ensign or a crew person, right?
Do you think she should have? Do you guys think she should have like got with Chakotay at some point?
She did.
Yes.
I mean, like on a regular basis, like
no.
Okay.
I mean,
I think we wanted her to, but I'm glad she didn't.
Right?
Right. It's like minus Robert Beltram, minus that. Me. Look, I have to put that disclaimer out there. I personally, maybe not for the show, but maybe as something after the show, and because to me the whole Chakotay and Seven thing was like Deanna and Worf. Like, what are you doing?
No. The whole Chakotay and Seven thing was like, it was like they weren't together one episode, and then the next episode it was like
they're like a thing, and then
like,
he mourns her loss. You know what I mean, afterwards.
Who wrote that?
And you're just like, did you know her name? Like
they could have wrote that throughout the season. They could have dropped
it. It just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well,
I watched it so many times. I'm like, what's happening? When did this happen? Did I miss episodes?
I mean,
Did they drop them?
I understand it a little bit because they had it as her continuing her social training, where she in the holodeck had the relationship with holodeck Chakotay, and as she said to the doctor, he is the most eligible bachelor among the crew. And
but it was
to actually make that a real relationship, though.
So what we're saying is Seven has it and does it better than Harry and Geordi.
I think Seven and Harry should have just did it from that first time they were in the fucking what you call it?
I'm sorry.
And she was like, "Do you wish to copulate?" No. You wish to copulate? I think they just ran with it. Like
I made a promise. I made a promise, Marie. I'm not going to talk about Harry tonight, but we can have a full episode about Harry someday.
Thank you.
I think they got scared. They should have just had Seven and Harry do it in the fucking engineering.
There's a reason they did it, but I'm not going into it here.
But to Keith's point, and you're right, they had that sort of that holodeck relationship with her. It was still very sudden, right?
Yes.
You know, like it was just all of a sudden she's got this thing and she wants to explore, and she picks Chakotay because. And on one half you can say, well, that's really random and fast, and the other half you can say, well, yes, she's human, but she's really Borg, and it's super.
And that was a very Seven thing to do. It was a very
Seven thing to do. Like all of a sudden, I've analyzed all this data, and he's the one. So I don't have whereas most people would with Tom and B'Elanna, it ramps, right? You start to see them start together. Right. It's not all of a sudden, hey, look, they're together this day, and tomorrow they're having a baby. Like what happened, you know? With her, that could just be random.
That's Seven's perspective, but from Chakotay's perspective, we don't see that, right?
That's where it falls apart.
That's the problem.
Like them saying a word or two in the hallway. You know, it doesn't have to be big. It could be very, very small.
Well, like they did with Tom and B'Elanna. There was all these little moments with them, but there are also these little moments with Harry and B'Elanna. In fact, a little bit more so because they woke up together on Ocampa as the test subjects of the caretaker. And so they had a bit more of a relationship going on.
I may have blocked that.
Find love, Keith. Harry cannot find love. Let's not.
Keith,
right? That's a totally.
He's the Ryan Putropoli of this one.
Still proud of you. I'm not even being sarcastic.
Okay, we're talking about women. On
we
to
are.
Who we will all agree is a sexualized character.
We haven't finished talking about Janeway yet. We barely scratched the surface of Janeway, and she is the lead of this show.
I think
we're gonna get to B'Elanna.
I think
I had to
cancel a thing. I had to cancel a thing, but we're gonna get to B'Elanna.
I think Janeway is a very strong character. I like how she is portrayed. I like how people respond to her. The crew responds to her. I don't know. Somebody else can go. I'm not going to just.
Oh, thank you. Someone else can go.
Someone else.
Wow, I haven't been on in a while.
Someone else besides Keith. Someone else besides Keith. No, go Keith.
Well, I think Will has had a stroke, so maybe not Will.
Yeah, no, I think we just lost Will. But yeah,
There he is. Oh, good. How was your stroke?
I do think
I'm
also
alive,
kinda
and that's
wanna-
all that matters. I'm alive.
Good.
Okay.
I'm sure you enjoyed your stroke.
Oh man, got to stroke something. So, all right. So,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
You knew what you were doing.
I
You
knew
knew.
exactly what I was doing.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Marco.
Speaking of which,
Right. Oh, goodbye, Mark.
I'm back. That was fast. A quickie.
Okay, fair enough. I mean,
Quickie stroke.
you look remarkably tiny, my friend.
A quickie stroke.
A quick stroke. The one stroke. It's a one-stroke engine.
But anyway, what do we think about the differences between what we see with Janeway versus, say, like Voyager Janeway versus, say, Prodigy Janeway?
Ooh.
I don't know. That's hard to say. I thought you were going to say Janeway versus Picard.
No. We're still talking about women.
Janeway versus Janeway.
Yeah, let's stick with them.
Oh, Keith came back on. Keith, what's the difference between Voyager Janeway and Prodigy Janeway?
Well, Prodigy Janeway is a hologram, so she doesn't really have relationships. She's there to serve a purpose. Now, but there's the hologram Janeway. There's 3 Janeways. There's Voyager Janeway, there's hologram Prodigy Janeway, and there's Admiral Prodigy Janeway. And Voyager Janeway has got the impossible task, even though they forgot about it from season to season, about the ship being lost in 70,000 light years from space, from home. So she had to take on so much more than just what any other captain would, because she was so far away. I mean, like Kirk definitely seemed like he was on his own in the 5-year mission, but Janeway really had that disconnect. Like, and Enterprise would get sent on a mission every once in a while. Janeway was just making it up as she went along.
She had the largest burden of all the captains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd say Cisco had a pretty big burden with the emissary, but we're not getting into male characters tonight. But what she had to do to make up, come up with things she was going to make mistakes, and we saw her make mistakes, and it was understandable, and it was good that we get to see the heroes make mistakes, but she also did quite a bit right.
But I think it's interesting, like, to compare how we're reacting now versus also the fan backlash when Voyager was actually airing.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like back
then? Well, the first
back in the olden days.
When hey, I was here when Voyager aired. I was here.
Fans are mad.
You can't pay attention to any backlash for the first year of any Star Trek series.
Except yeah, but the Voyager had consistent backlash.
Yeah.
Even through season 7?
Oh yeah.
Oh. Why?
There was a lot of, to a certain extent, every captain gets compared, right, to to his or her predecessor, right? Like, the sheer level of anger at the TNG crew initially was kind of impressive. To be fair, Deep Space Nine misses a lot of that because Deep Space Nine existed in a very strange niche area.
The real gatekeepers just kind of wrote it off as, it's on a space station, it doesn't matter.
So it doesn't count, right? But Voyager got it like hard a lot. And I have to say, like, certainly watching Discovery and watching the fan fallout for Discovery has actually reminded me very strongly of what watching Voyager and paying attention to fandom was like back in the olden days.
I'm sorry, Murray.
I gotta say, I'm lucky that, for as much as I love Star Trek, I haven't seen every little bit, and as much as a fan of certain series I am, I can say that I've removed from that. So when it was airing and things like that, I didn't pay attention. Like, I didn't really notice fan backlash, things like that. I just simply got to enjoy the show and kept watching it because I did have problems with certain episodes. Of course, there's never going to be, not everyone's going to be hit out of the park, but I was able to watch the show and enjoy it for what it was. and obviously this is obviously really pre-internet and social media and all that stuff. So they're also a lot easier to avoid that nonsense and not have to hear every person jumping up on their chair screaming at their screens and writing in all caps about a show that people are enjoying just because they have a hair across their ass. It was so much easier back then.
Hair across their ass.
To be fair, we're actually sort of seeing a really interesting evolution in terms of fandom, because so much of that is so much more readily available than it was, right? Like you could watch Voyager and just not know.
Yeah.
Because social media wasn't a thing.
I watched it
except to like BBS boards and chat rooms and such. So you had to seek it out, and now it's much harder. I mean, it really is. It's just much harder to avoid.
I'm with Marco. I didn't read any of that stuff. I had a TiVo. I was like the only person I knew that had a TiVo, and I recorded it. And when I came home, every day,
we are showing our age now.
I would play Voyager every day.
I just remember there was an episode of The Simpsons where Homer decided to start his own internet company, hoping to be bought out by Bill Gates. And Comic Book Guy contacts him to try to get a better internet because he was trying to download illicit images of Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah.
And the image as it was coming in on the computer was basically how she looks on every episode. Yeah. Except she was supposed to, be sans uniform. the joke of, they make the internet for the computers now. That's funny.
Yeah. Oof. Places I expected this episode to go did not include TiVo and Simpsons mocking internet porn. Like, I just was not expecting that, guys.
I never. So they were.
But I haven't been on in a while, so.
I mean, clearly, this is you, Marco. This is you. Like, you are dragging the discourse down.
There's no way.
You listen to my show.
I will not be participating in this part of the conversation because Marie will throw her shoe at me.
I will.
That would be quite a throw.
I would love to see it go across the street. The
whole Shankla just coming in, knocking on the front door. They just coming into the studio and then.
Oh my god! Like, that's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. Is I need to.
The shoe itself just knocks on the door. I'm here.
Oh.
So what are the downfalls of Janeway? Like, what did the writers get wrong about Janeway? About that?
First off, the weird relationship with Chakotay.
Yeah.
Step one.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that?
Not solidified. It was like touch. It was like
because what's interesting about the Chakotay and Janeway dynamic is they really, really struggled to figure out a way to make that respectful.
Right. I mean, they were on a planet for like 6 months together, right?
No, but I don't mean that. I mean like you have whole conversations with Chakotay that would not have flown in any other situation. In Parallax, it's actually Chakotay who fixes the whole situation, right? Because Janeway can't get over herself. And that's a bit of a problem.
That's episode 3, Parallax, right?
And certainly I can understand what they're trying to do here, right? Which is, because on top of everything else, Janeway and Chakotay have the unenviable task of combining a Starfleet and a Maquis crew.
Right.
And Chakotay himself is actually coming from a place of command and is now trying to figure out how to navigate this whole area. But the way a lot of those sequences get written, and Mulgrew is really great about subverting it in her performance. So some of the lines come across as being extraordinarily condescending, and Mulgrew herself just refuses to back down. Right, like she is more than willing to stand toe to toe with Robert Beltran, in the scene, like physically in the scene. But for that performance decision, it would have been a very different sequence. And I think that's kind of the problem. I like the fact that they keep Chakotay sort of off the table as a romantic partner. Because I think it's important for that to stay off the table. Like, they could not be in that kind of romantic relationship and still have the working relationship that they needed to have. And so having those sequences like we had on the planet,
but it could have been explored. It could
play with that, but they play with it, but it's a much ickier situation than it was with, say, like, and I hate to do this, but like if we're going to compare that with the Picard and Beverly Crusher dynamic, you know, it's that same sort of are they, aren't they, aren't they, blah 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 kind of situation. And it's different. It's different for Picard and Crusher. If they had chosen to pursue a romantic relationship between those characters, it would have been a little bit different because Crusher isn't exactly in the same direct line, right? That, say, Chakotay is.
Well, they did Picard and another woman.
Yes, and that was awful.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could have done that with Voyager. They could have did Janeway and Chakotay, and they could have explored that, and maybe they reached the point because you said they couldn't do it because of their positions.
I was kind of hoping they got. I was kind of hoping they got together after the
realized that they could have started a relationship and then realized that they couldn't pursue that because of certain things that happened. So they
right, the fact that he's her, like he's her direct report. Like,
so I can't have a relationship with my direct boss. Like, it's
generally no.
You should probably watch the
most
Good Wife
corporations.
At some point. It's a very good show.
Right. Right.
Well, that's just silly. Don't tell me who I can love.
I gotta tell you, I slept with my manager once, and it was weird.
Yeah, it might be weird.
Yeah, and that's why they don't let you do it. Like, I know a lot of people, my sister-in-law and her fiance, like they met at their job. They worked for a particular coffee company, and they weren't really supposed to be because she was a manager and he was, under. And so, like, when they moved and she moved to a different store, it was then okay because she wasn't his manager anymore. You know what I mean? Yes. That was okay, even though she was higher up in the corporation, but she wasn't directly over him in terms of a store, and that was right. That was fine.
Right.
And I assume they do that,
and it's because of power.
Issues, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because of power.
It's because of power.
Sure. You can, you know what I mean? Then people can see it as favoritism if he gets a better shift, or this is so. It's the list goes on and on and on as to what can go on and how the other employees can just be like, well, "What the hell's going on here?" What
Well, it's not even that.
Together, I'm getting like this.
It's not even just that. I mean, let's not ignore the potential for coercion here.
Do they do that in current military situations?
Yes, they do.
Right?
No, that is a no. In fact, I say we, but Dirtbag ran into this a couple of times.
This person is the love of my life. I just happen to be serving on this ship, and my superior officer just happens to be the fucking love of my life.
Transfer your ass out, dude.
Yeah, it sucks to be you.
Yeah,
you gotta go wait out on the wing. It's not happening.
I'm Harry Kim.
Have fun with that.
I'm fucking Harry Kim at that point, right?
Jason,
I am not
gonna lie.
You are.
Oh, poor Harry Kim. Just get all the leftovers.
Jason, I love you, but I'm not gonna allow you to trigger Keith.
Hey, but
Harry Kim with the sloppy seconds constantly.
Oh,
Good Jesus!
Stop!
Oh my God!
Harry Kim had more sexual opportunities.
I love being back.
Anybody else?
We missed you too, Marco.
That's it's still very frowned upon, and it's still very difficult, and it's even in a standard corporate situation, there are relationships that you're supposed to disclose to HR.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because of this power imbalance, because of perceived power, the perceived
problem is when the relationship goes wrong. I think that's the biggest problem, is when it goes wrong.
Also an issue.
And then that's a problem.
Also an issue. And could you imagine if the captain and the XO break up and you're in the Delta Quadrant?
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like you can be replaced.
Has anybody checked on Keith?
I'm just doing some reading here.
Oh, you're just reading some books. reading books.
Keith is like, I am done
I
with your
think Keith knows we have a
bullshit.
show going on. Keith, there's a show.
Keith, that's not my book. Is that my book? It's not my book, is it?
No, I actually read something that's pertinent to the show. So.
Oh wow!
Do share.
Well, I was reading. William brought up about her getting together with Chakotay afterwards, so I went to the book on what the book said they did. Of course, now we have Prodigy that tweaks it slightly, but it says that Chakotay quit Starfleet after 18 months back in the Alpha Quadrant, whereupon he and B'Elanna took a journey out to the old DMZ to pay their respects to their fallen Maquis comrades, and he returned to the colony world settled by Native Americans. He often drops out of communications for months at a time, suddenly turning up again, sending me a message. Sometimes he accepts a university post where he will teach history for a while before returning to his travels when he is on Earth. And we see each other every week, as we always did. He comes to my home in Ireland for dinner. The dog loves him.
Yeah.
So I have a
Have
question.
you guys read Homecoming? You read Homecoming, Keith?
A while ago, yeah.
Yeah. So they talk about stuff that happens with Chakotay and 7 of 9 when she goes back to Earth and everything. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marie.
Marie, what was it?
I have a real question. Like, did we establish that Chakotay was a member of the same tribe as the group that was on Planet Journey's End?
It's so bad. Like when you watch the first episode, and Paris is like, "Can't you just turn into an eagle and fly us out of here?" And it's like that's a different tribe.
To make a point of saying that there are multiple Native American colonies.
Right, that's right.
Not just what we saw.
Okay, good, because that did not come across when you read that excerpt. I was just like, oh god.
But
God.
And it wasn't out that so one they were they were hoping to have the character that would become Chakotay in that episode, but it didn't work out.
So Keith, were you saying was it like a long distance relationship or?
Well, it's basically just like friends that come in and out of each other's lives, and nothing more than that. In fact, she details how he and Seven traveled a little bit together when they first got back to the Alpha Quadrant, helping to find the home where the world, where she grew up and reconnect with the family that she never really knew, the Hanson family.
Also,
but all this, of course,
yeah, Keith.
I was saying, of course, this has been rewritten by Picard and Prodigy now. So
I also have to be ugly, but we do want to transition to B'Elanna.
Are we still talking about Star Trek women?
No, we've moved on to the apartment.
The one I live in.
Right. Okay, B'Elanna. They
I feel like I just got left behind there, but that's okay. Yeah. B'Elanna Torres.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Take it away, Marie.
Right, B'Elanna Torres. So B'Elanna Torres is interesting because B'Elanna's importance is less in terms of gender and more in terms of ethnic identity, because they use B'Elanna to explore concepts of being multiracial in not so great ways.
No, yeah, they overdo it at the beginning. Way overdo
it. Not just at the beginning. They keep going.
Yeah, no. Like seriously, at one point she tries to genetically resequence her baby.
Well, that is not.
That was season 7.
That is not overdoing it at all. That is a legitimate.
How about season 4 when she started near riots on the planet because she had one nasty thought about a guy bumping into her?
Except she didn't even start the riot. Like she wasn't the problem. But we were completely comfortable blaming that on B'Elanna because of her Klingon side, which is kind of an interesting issue, because I sort of wonder if that would have been true if the half Klingon character had been male. I do kind of wonder about that, because some of what we see with B'Elanna gets played into unfortunate stereotypes about hysterical females and over emotional females. And I hate to use the term female because that makes me sound like a Ferengi.
And I also want to throw in like colorism, in some areas
for sure.
Because that's definitely like being biracial or light skin. It tends to have a negative impact on one's social life. And speaking from experience in that area, where she tries to resequence her own baby. Like for a while, she was happy for all of 2 seconds of being separated from a Klingon half, and then she realized, "Dang, I really do need you." Like
that's real, because like I've known people who have, like, I know a guy who his mother was from the old land of Spain, and his father was from the old land of Italian, and they didn't teach him Spanish or Italian at all because they didn't want him to have any type of like what do you call it when you?
My family was that way. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. My family's Spanish. And there was none of that passed on because at the time
the accent, they didn't want a bad accent. They didn't.
It wasn't even a question of it wasn't even a question of accent. It was a question of assimilation, right? Like you didn't want to be different. You wanted like my mother never spoke Spanish in her life because her father wanted to make sure that she was American.
Right. So that whole gene sequencing thing is like, I think that's a real issue. I think that's a real thing. If people could do that, if people could do that, they would do that.
Yeah,
I don't think all of them would do that. I mean, Marco, you've got like perspective on this shit.
Not all of them, but just I think some people would do it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I have no problem believing that some people would do that to give what they perceive their kid to have a better life. You know, the struggles that they went through, they don't want their kids to go through, right? But who we are and where we came from is part of us, and it'd be part of her daughter too, you know. And the experiences that B'Elanna had made her who she was, and she was a very strong character. She had plenty of flaws, just like everybody on that ship did, but she was a strong character, you know, and she knew what she wanted, and you know, she had her moments of doubt and self-doubt and self-esteem problems, you know, and that can just be, you know, and they trace that back to some of her childhood stuff where you know, you see her growing up and where she got how she felt about being half Klingon and with her dad and all that stuff that they did delve into at one point. You know, coming from somebody who's 3/4 Italian, you know, and I can't really speak any of it. My father's family is very Italian, and they speak not only Italian but dialect, which drives my wife crazy. Every once in a while, I try to teach it to my son, and she's like, "Knock it off!" Because I want to sound educated if we ever go there. But my mother didn't speak it, even though she was half Italian. So my father didn't speak it at home because she wouldn't be able to understand. So my brother and I never learned.
It's such a privilege to be able to speak those other languages. It's such
I wish I could. I wish I could. I regret every day. Like I said, my mother didn't speak it, so my dad didn't because he didn't want to leave her out and be talking to us, and she would understand. So
yep. I had to go to high school and take Spanish in high school.
I took Italian all through high school, and I got really good grades except for the last year. I didn't take it, that's the immersion year where you can't go to the bathroom unless you say it in Italian. My godfather actually taught that class. I didn't take his class. He still yells at me to this day about it.
B'Elanna didn't want her child to be called Turtlehead, basically.
So this is the last thing that I'll say about B'Elanna, character development wise. Like, it's nice seeing her fight and everything, and I know we're pressed for time. My most favorite, I won't say my most favorite, but character development wise, my favorite part of the scene was when she stood up to Seska before Seska was Seska, saying, "No, we're not going to cover this up." Yeah. And she said, "Oh my God, you've changed." And she said, "And if you're right, I'm going to take that as a compliment."
Okay. Next week we are going to touch Seska in all the wrong ways.
Oh yeah, we're going to jump on Seska.
Marco, you are welcome to come along for the Seska ride.
I'm ready for the jumping.
Because I think Seska is also a really, really good character to discuss.
She's a good character to have in the show. Like, she was a good character.
I mean,
the hell out of me, but as a show writing, she was a good
right.
character.
I mean, major props.
She did
that
what she was supposed to do. That was her job, was to infuriate the shit out of you, and they did it. She accomplished it.
Would you say she's like the Ensign Rowe of the show, or
no?
Completely different?
Completely different in every way.
Where in the hell did that come from?
Because she's like a character that's like not a main character, but a background character, but a story ends up.
Ensign Rowe was not a background character.
I guess
her first episode is called Ensign Rowe. That's not a background character.
All right, folks. So we mostly stayed on track. Like,
Robin would be turning over in her grave right now.
I know, right? Like, maybe we should hook something up and get you power things that way.
Yeah.
She's gonna be spinning so fast. But anyway, we mostly stayed on track. I'm really proud of us. Next week, we are going to look into New Trek and possibly also finish up some of the 90s issues, and hopefully talk a little bit about where we see things going with Strange New Worlds, possibly the Academy, the Academy show, and maybe even the Section 31 stories. So, beautiful bean footage.
Wait, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you being right now? I gotta know.
I'm serious, dude. You got
like 10 out of 10 serious, or picking on Michael serious? Which one?
There is no temperature in space. It's not cold.
What are you serious?
Okay, wait.
Who is? Oh dear God! It just got better.
Because you said his name.
Welcome to the party, Michael.
No, that is not how we're going to end the episode because Keith actually has like a legitimate news update. He knows shit, and we should possibly like convey that knowledge.
That's my favorite line. He knows shit.
It's just like a black and red mound. It's like.
Why are you describing yourself?
What the hell?
Hello from
Hey, Virgil.
Hey,
Virgil.
welcome.
Hello, Virgil. Welcome. Who are you?
Who?